Morning, everybody. I'm going to finish up 11.3 today, and then we're going to start to review for the test. And I'll give you the test on Friday. You can take it up to Monday morning. So you can take a time from Friday morning to Monday morning. The chapter review questions will be due on Monday morning as well. So just two quick things before you start the chapter review today. The first thing is that if you have grams of a substance, we'll say just grams of A, and you want to go to grams of B, there's no direct conversion from grams of A to grams of B. You have to always go to moles first. So if ever you're given grams of a substance, you should always start by converting it to moles. So you go from grams of A to moles of A, and then convert moles of A to moles of B, and then go from moles of B to grams of B. And so that's the steps you have to always take to go from grams of something to grams of something else. You always have to go to moles first, and then moles of what you need, and then grams of what you need. Okay, the last thing to do today and in the chapter is to talk more about limiting reactants and how you can find out how much you need for a certain product. Let's go back to what we did yesterday in the lesson. Do you have this down before I erase it? Okay, so we're looking at this equation. We had S8 reacting with Cl2 to form S2Cl2. And we were told that there was 200 grams of S8 reacting with 100 grams of Cl2. And we were asked to find limiting reactant. Today what we're going to do is find out how many grams are produced of S2Cl2. So they're asking in this problem to find out how many grams are produced. We'll start with the same steps we did yesterday. We're going to find out the moles of each of the two reactants, and we'll go from there. So we did this yesterday. We'll go through it again today. So you take 200 grams of S8 and multiply it by its molar mass. If you look up here at table, look up sulfur. It's 32.0 grams per mole, and there's 8 of them. So we would do 32 times 8 to get the molar mass of S8. And that's how many grams there are in 1 mole. 200 grams divided by the molar mass gives you 0.7797 moles of S8. The same thing for Cl2. We have 100 grams of Cl2. So we did 100 and then divided by its molar mass. Cl is 35.45. There's 2 of them. So we would do 35.45 times 2. And that's how many grams there are in 1 mole of Cl2. So we do 100 divided by that, and that would give us 1.41 moles of Cl2. So at this point, we would need to find the limiting reactant. So if we're given 2 reactants, in this case, we were given both the grams of S8 and of Cl2, we would need to choose which of these is limiting, which one runs out first. And once we know that, we're going to use the limiting reactant to convert to moles of the product. So whichever one's limiting is what we're going to be using to find the molar ratio and find out how many moles will be produced and then how many grams are produced. So which one's limiting? So yesterday we talked about the molar ratio between S8 and Cl4. And for every 1 mole of S8, you need 4 moles of Cl2. So that's the actual molar ratio based on the numbers in front. What do we actually have? we have 0.7797 moles of S8, and we have 1.41 moles of Cl2. So looking at this ratio, what we can see is that this is not a 4-to-1 ratio, that we have a lot less Cl2 than we need. Because whatever we have of S8, we would need 4 times that of Cl2. And 4 times 0.77 is about 2.8. So we don't have enough of Cl2. So Cl2 must be limiting. So once we know that, we can go from there. So if we said that Cl2 is the limiting reactant, then we can use the moles of Cl2 to predict the moles we're going to get of the product. So we would use moles of Cl2, and we would relate it to moles of what we want to find out, which is the product S2Cl2. So we know we have 1.41 moles of Cl2. What we're going to do is we're going to convert moles of Cl2 to moles of S2Cl2 and then grams of S2Cl2. So once we know which one limits the reaction, we're going to relate moles of that to moles of what we want to find out, which in this case is moles of S2Cl2. Okay, so using the molar ratio, we're going to cancel out Cl2. That's what we already have right here. So 4 moles of Cl2 goes in the denominator. We want to find out moles of S2Cl2, so that goes in the numerator. Cl2 would cancel out. So in this case, it's a 4-to-4 ratio, which is the same as 1-to-1. So we also would have 1.410 moles of S2Cl2. So now we're going to go from moles of S2Cl2 to grams of S2Cl2. So we need to find the molar mass of S2Cl2. Look up sulfur in the periodic table. Sulfur is 32, and there's 2 of them, so we do 2 times 32. And then Cl is 35.45. There's 2 Cls, so multiply that by 2. Add that together, and we would get 135 grams per mole of S2Cl2. Okay, so there's a question about how I got 4 moles of S2Cl2. That comes up here from this equation. So you look at the coefficients in front, and we can see there's no number right here, so that's just 1, and then there's 4 and 4. And so the molar ratio between Cl2 and S2Cl is a 4-to-4 ratio. When we want to go from moles of Cl2 to moles of S2Cl2, we use the molar ratio to do that. And so we multiply it by moles of what we have, which was Cl2, and the moles of what we want to do, which is S2Cl2. And they're both 4 in front of here. So for every 4 moles of Cl2, you'll get 4 moles of S2Cl2. Does that clear it up? Okay. So now at this step, after we converted from moles of Cl2 to moles of S2Cl2, we can now go from moles to grams. So we know that there's 135 grams for every 1 mole of S2Cl2. So we multiply that, and that gives us 190.4 grams of S2Cl2. So that would be how much of the product we're going to get. So if we're given two reactants and their masses, we would need to start by making them both into moles, identify which one's limiting. Whichever one's limiting, we're going to use in the molar ratio. The other one is excess, and you can ignore the excess one. So whichever one is not limiting, you would just ignore it. You wouldn't use it to find the moles of the product. Any questions about that? Okay, so today for the rest of class, work on your chapter review questions. I'll put them on here. And we're gonna have the test again. So Friday, I'll give you the test if you want to take it on Friday, but you don't need to take it until Monday. But anytime from Friday to Monday, you can take it. I split the chapter review into 2 days. You can see that today I assigned these ones, tomorrow those ones, review and test. You can do it however you want to, but this is about half of the assignment today and half tomorrow. But again, these are not due until Monday. So the chapter review and test are not due until Monday. So they're due Monday morning at 10.